Hey Stuart, welcome to TechIntelPro. Thank you for making it. We're glad to have you on TechIntelPro. So basically, we wanted to interact. We wanted to understand what LiquidStack has in offerings, and we have kind of shortlisted a couple of questions. We want to know from you firsthand, how exactly you're panning out, what your experience has been at Tech Week.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting off with the first question, I would like to understand you have a stellar track record in data center industry and blending technical know-how with business strategy. What first made you realize the transformative potential of liquid cooling?
I guess it started out, I spent the first 9 years of my data center career doing CFD modeling, so airflow modeling within a data center. And it very quickly showed where the shortfalls are, where the challenges came as densities increased. And over the last 10 years, really, we've seen the fact that densities in chips are increasing to a level that, physics meant, if we look at airflow and so forth, we have to move across to another cooling medium in order to remove the heat. And in the last few years in particular, we've seen that growth further and further. And I realized, liquid has to be the way forward at some point. When was always a question. And I've always enjoyed being at the cutting edge of what's going on. So it's a step I made 7 years ago or so.
Okay, nice. Okay, in your experience, what are the biggest hurdles data center face when moving from traditional cooling to liquid solutions?
I think there's a lot of fear, perhaps more fear than is necessary, but people work for years to get liquid out of a data center.
Okay.
And now suddenly we're putting liquid back in again, and electronics and liquid, people don't like it. I guess the challenge is setting up a data center, however you're going to do it. There's a huge amount of capex there, and when it comes to your infrastructure, you're building a lot of that up front. So if we go to an operational data center and suddenly say, hey, now you need to incorporate liquid cooling, there's more infrastructure they need to bring in. And as it's relatively new, there's that element of fear. People haven't seen exactly what's out there, how they make everything work. So I think there's cost involved. There's a lot of cost. And as an operator, they need to make sure they've got the clients on board before they want to spend that money. So I think it's a challenging situation for anybody, but they know it has to happen.
Yeah. So you're kind of playing a balancing act between both of them?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Can't agree more. Could you walk us through how LiquidStack delivers cooling as a platform, like similar to other critical infrastructure in data center?
Yeah, so I think part of the challenge comes with traditional air cooling. It's very well understood and it's simplified, and we're sending air into a room. It's a relatively simple, well understood process. But now when we're taking liquid, in most cases, directly to the chip, you've got cold plates, one vendor doing cold plates, another doing manifolds, another doing pipe work headers, people like us doing coolant distribution units. Then you've got the heat rejection outside and you've got the chillers. So making that all work together is a challenge. And there are some companies that dabble in every area of that, but generally there are experts in their fields. Our expertise in this area is at the CDU level. So working with the right partners to give an entire platform is critical. Even if we maybe consider competitors in some case, making sure everybody works together is critical. If we need to get the right flow rates and temperatures to the chips, we need to make sure the pipe work that links to the CDUs does what it's meant to do. And from our point of view, what we've done is our latest generation of product, I think we may talk about, is our Giga Modular. Now that's a modular CDU, so that's something that is scalable. So the idea, you talk about a platform. Now the idea of this is that it's got growth capability. So you could start off, for example, with 2 or 2.5 megawatts. And if you need to grow that, you can bring another module in. So you're not having to pay for all of that capex up front, prior to being ready. So maybe you don't have all the clients in yet, you need a little bit of liquid cooling. This gives you a base that you can simply extend. So by bringing a modular solution, I think we've seen it in every area of the data center, whether it's modular construction, whether it's modular UPSs, trying to bring that modularity means people only spend the money when they have to.
Okay. So is it kind of a solution which is on demand?
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah, so when you need to grow and perhaps you're starting to reach your capacity of what you've already installed, you can bring in the next cooling module with the heat exchanger and the pumps and be prepared. So it's a very, very simple system that you can bring in, and you can essentially pay as you grow.
Okay.
And having modular solutions means you also get you save capex. You don't need 10 different CDUs. So we do a 1 megawatt CDU, we do a 10 megawatt modular. So, the Giga Modular is far more space efficient than putting in 10 individual CDUs. It's more cost efficient because we're not having 10 different control modules, for example. So it's all about efficiency, space, cost, operational maintenance, and so on.
So you're kind of aligning all of them together just to make sure it is cost efficient, right?
Absolutely. Money is everything in the data center, and we can talk about all of the other factors, but ultimately these are commercial enterprises.
Exactly.
They're there to make money. So if they can save money whilst maintaining the resilience that they need, then it's got to be a winner.
Right. I would also like to understand, how does LiquidStack's Giga Modular CDU help data centers future-proof for AI and next-generation workloads?
Well, I guess it's kind of what we've just discussed there, really. It's the fact that 10 megawatts, that's a lot, right? And you're not going to find many people right now that say, hey, we need a 10 megawatt CDU. But we are already seeing people saying, well, hey, your 1 megawatt is maybe not quite big enough for what we want. So moving up to a larger one, saying, okay, the 2 megawatt, 2.5 megawatt is fine for now. We're giving them that future proof by saying, well, you can build that out. Okay. And you don't need to put it all in up front. So we're trying to use that modularity to allow them to think about the future. I have no doubt it will come. There's people we've spoken to in the AI world. So the AI factories, as well as the hyperscalers themselves, who said, well, we're interested in a 5 megawatt CDU. And say, great, well, you can have 1 control module, 2 cooling modules, and away you go. And if you want to scale that up further, you can do so.
So do you see this disparity in the market where you have demand in the range of 5 megabytes, and then you don't have demand? Do you see that disparity?
So I think it's very early for demand for that kind of scale.
Okay.
I mean, what we're really selling at the moment is on the smaller end. 1 megawatt is not small, but by modern standards, that's what we're selling day in, day out, and for the masses. But we know there is a shift. We've already seen it happen. And sure, it may not be as high as 5 megawatts yet, but we've seen the shift move. What we didn't want to do was have to create a 1 megawatt CDU, a 1.5, a 2, then maybe we need a 4 megawatt. You can't maintain a product line like that, particularly as a relatively small company. So again, we talk about efficiency. It's efficiency in our own design by being able to have something that can scale that way.
Okay, got it. If you had to sum up LiquidStack's headline story for the Tech Week, what would it be?
I guess it's the first time we've brought the, we've got our 1 megawatt CDU on our booth, and we have a VR setup, which is fantastic. You should come and see it.
Oh, sure.
We have a VR setup to show the Giga Modular, and I think it's the first time we've had the opportunity to show that in this region. That Singapore is always, it's the hub of this region. This is the biggest event, certainly for us in Asia. So it's a great opportunity really to bring that to the masses here and allow them to really see the detail around that product.
We do have plans to cover your entire booth, and we want to see how the statistics work. We want to see it live, so we would be doing it short.
No problem.
Just on a personal note, I wanted to understand, what are you most curious about or looking forward to experiencing at Tech Week Singapore?
Well, it's meeting people. I mean, I'm a big believer in things being done in person. So when we had COVID and everything was done on Zoom calls and Teams calls, it solves a purpose. And look, when you're dealing with a global market, of course it's essential you do these virtual things, but nothing beats meeting people in person, talking, getting to know people. For me, that's how business happens, and I always try to meet all of my clients and all of our partners, and being here to see everybody, it's a fantastic way of understanding where the market's moving. And different regions move at different times and in different ways. We see the US probably out ahead at the moment in terms of density, but it's so interesting, particularly over here. The Asia Pacific region has a lot of very different regions where we're seeing different levels of density. Areas like India, we know India is going to be huge. It's probably not quite there yet for what we're doing, but it's definitely a growing market.
Yes.
Densities are increasing, so it's really exciting to get that kind of that annual update at this show of where everybody's sitting.
Okay. I hope you achieve what you are trying to achieve from Tech Week, and
I hope so.
we're so looking forward to going to your booth. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
It was lovely
Absolute pleasure.
talking to you.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thanks a lot.